Hello, it's Saturday the 16th of January. You're tuned in to our 6 p.m. newscast coming to you from Arirang's news centre in Seoul. It's very good to have you with us. I'm Mark Broom. Our top story this evening: South Korea, the United States and Japan have agreed to push for strong sanctions against North Korea for its latest nuclear test. Kim Hyun-bin joins us on the line. So Hyun-bin, these talks have been taking place throughout the day in Tokyo. Who's involved?
Good evening, Mark. Seoul's represented at the talks is Vice Foreign Minister Sung Nam. He has already held separate one-on-one talks with U.S. Deputy Secretary of State Tony Blinken and Japanese Vice Foreign Minister Akitaka Saiki. All three officials are currently holding trilateral talks on making North Korea pay the price for its latest nuclear provocation. Now, Seoul, Washington, and Tokyo all agree the sanctions against Pyongyang this time have to be the strongest and most comprehensive yet. Now, today's meeting comes around a week and a half after North Korea carried out its fourth nuclear test in defiance of the international community. Now, the three countries are pressuring China, North Korea's longtime ally, to be more proactive and ensure Pyongyang is effectively punished for its actions. Now, speaking earlier today, Seoul's Vice Foreign Minister Sung Nam said the world has to send a strong and clear message to North Korea that its behavior is completely unacceptable and can't be tolerated. Now, South Korea's top nuclear envoy met with his Chinese counterpart in Beijing a couple of days ago to gauge what level of support China is willing to give at the United Nations.
And Hyun-bin, Minister Im has also been holding one-on-one talks with his Japanese counterpart. Their talks were focused on the nuclear test countermeasures as well, but they also touched on another issue, right?
That's right, but let's cover the North Korea test issue first. Now, the two officials exchanged opinions on how to punish Pyongyang for its provocation. Now, Minister Im and Saiki agreed that North Korea's tests represented a grave threat to peace and stability in the region. Now, they also stressed the punishment should be strong. Now, in regard to the other issue you mentioned, the South Korean and Japanese official hailed the recent bilateral agreement between Seoul and Tokyo that effectively ended the decades-long dispute over Tokyo's wartime sexual enslavement of Korean women. Now, they said the landmark deal has opened ways to enhance bilateral ties, adding that it can act as a platform to enhance relations and gain trust. Now, the two vice ministers agreed that follow-up talks should be held to take certain measures if and when necessary. Now, I have more details on the ongoing trilateral meeting during our next newscast at 10 p.m. Korea time. Back to you.
Thank you, Hyun-bin, for that report. Now, in other news, oil prices crashed for yet another session on Friday to close below $30 a barrel. For the first time in 12 years, the oil benchmark Brent crude fell 4.7% to $29.43. U.S. West Texas Intermediate oil fell 5% to $29.51. The eighth slump in 9 sessions took this year's losses to more than 20%. Bear in mind, we're just in mid-January. Analysts have warned that the prospect of an end to the Iranian oil export ban could make prices tumble even further as a tidal wave of new oil could hit the market. Now, the turmoil in oil prices is sending shockwaves through financial markets as well. The Dow Jones Industrial Average shed 2.4% on Friday, the S&P 500 2.2%, and the Nasdaq dropped 2.7%. European and Asian markets, including Korea's Kospi, ended sharply down on Friday as well. Now, local analysts say Korean shares will likely remain volatile next week due to the continued jitters over oil and the uncertainty in China. Staying in China, and Chinese President Xi Jinping has officially opened the $100 billion Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank. Speaking at the opening ceremony for the new China-backed lender on Saturday, President Xi said the AIIB will provide impetus for economic growth in Asia and the rest of the world. Also, speaking at the ceremony was South Korea's new finance minister, Yoo Il-ho. He said the AIIB will play a critical role in helping Asia maintain its growth and better cope with economic challenges. Now, the Beijing-based AIIB will compete and cooperate with the Washington-based World Bank and Japan-led Asian Development Bank. South Korea is one of the 57 founding members, with Seoul giving a capital subscription of roughly $3.75 billion. Voting has just wrapped up in Taiwan in parliamentary and presidential elections, with the island's relationship with China a key issue. The governing party, the Kuomintang, or KMT, is facing a strong challenge from the traditionally pro-independence Democratic Progressive Party, led by Tsai Ing-wen. The results are expected in the next hour or so. The election results could mark a turning point in Taiwan's democracy and relationship with Beijing. For more details, we're going to connect to Eugene Zhang, who is a Reuters correspondent based in Taipei. So, Eugene, it looks as though Taiwan is going to have its first female leader. How will the Chinese mainland respond to Tsai Ing-wen's expected victory? And we know she favours more independence from China, but how far do you think she'll go?
Hi, Mark. I'm standing outside the headquarters of the Democratic Progressive Party here in Taipei. This is Tsai Ing-wen's party, the most likely candidate to become Taiwan's next president. Now, the voting booths in Taiwan closed earlier today, so we are waiting for the results to come out. Now, should Tsai Ing-wen become president, she will become the first female president of Taiwan. Now, everyone that I've been speaking to, whether they be experts or just normal voters, all believe that Tsai Ing-wen will indeed become the next president. Now, regarding her China policies, though, she has been quite ambiguous, except to say that she will maintain the status quo and not provoke Taiwan's giant neighbor. Now, experts that I've been speaking to say in the short term she will indeed maintain the status quo, because her next job would be to gain trust from Beijing as well as the people of Taiwan. So that in itself, Beijing is watching very closely on the outcome. As you know, Beijing regards Taiwan as its own territory, even though Taiwan is self-ruled. So the next president has a very tough and challenging role to manage cross-strait relations. So we'll have to wait and see how China will react once the results come out later today. Back to you, Mark.
Well, thank you for that report. And just to say that we will have an update on the Taiwan elections. We should have a result by the time we have our next newscast at 10 p.m. Korea time. We'll be sure to bring that to you. Now, in other international news, around 20 people are thought to have been killed in an attack by suspected Islamist militants on a hotel in the capital of Burkina Faso. Officials say security forces managed to free more than 60 hostages from the 5-story splendid hotel in Ouagadougou. Local troops are currently working with their French counterparts to retake the hotel. Now, more than 100 people were thought to be inside the hotel and an adjoining restaurant at the time of the attack. Al-Qaeda in the Islamic Maghreb has claimed responsibility. Now, both the splendid hotel and the cafe are popular with UN staff and foreigners. In a statement, the US State Department said it strongly condemned the attack and extended its deepest condolences to the families of the victims. The US Department of Defense says it will punish the 12 people it found responsible for lapses which led to the mistaken shipment of live anthrax to a US airbase in South Korea last year. The Pentagon's report found faulty oversight at the US Army Dugway Proving Ground lab in Utah. The report says Brigadier General William E. King, who ran the lab between 2009 and 2011, did not take necessary safety measures despite several warnings. It said King's attitude created a culture of complacency within the lab as well. The others were found to have failed to adhere to the correct precautions in management and delivery procedures. The Defense Department has been investigating the Dugway lab after it disclosed last May that live anthrax samples were sent to nearly 200 labs in 50 US states and 9 foreign countries, including South Korea. Now, cosmetics and medicines that contain both oil and water need special chemicals to mix the two together. That can be quite harmful to the body. But now, Korean researchers have developed a way of mixing oil and water without the help of those kind of chemicals. Our Park Se-young has the details.
It's fairly common knowledge that oil and water don't mix, which is why cosmetics manufacturers use surfactants to mix the two. Surfactants are compounds that prevent natural particle separation by disrupting the interface of two liquids. Chemical surfactants can pose a danger to the human body, while the organic versions carry a heavy price tag. Now, a Korean research team has successfully developed a method of mixing oil and water at room temperature without surfactants.
We can manufacture products that require surfactants without using them, allowing us to pioneer a new market.
Using a focused ultrasound device, the research team successfully dispersed oil particles in a water and oil solution. They used cetyl brand oil, regular olive oil, and distilled water, and the result was a nanoscale emulsion created without the use of surfactants. The researchers say their method could be used to make body-friendly cosmetics, medicines, and food. And with the size of this year's global cosmetics market estimated at $280 billion and the nanomedicine industry estimated at $24 billion, the number of possible applications is potentially unlimited. Park Se-young, Arirang News.
Now, a famous Korean soprano made an appearance in the movie Youth, which hit cinema screens around the world last year. Sumi took centre stage in the final scenes. She performed a song called Simple Song. In fact, that track was nominated for Best Original Song at the Golden Globes, and it could potentially end up winning an Oscar. Oh Soo-young has this report.
Wearing a red dress that glitters as it catches the light, soprano Sumi delivers the final song of Paolo Sorrentino's latest movie, Youth. Called Simple Song, the 6-minute piece is anything but plain like its name. It's a masterpiece filled with the sweeping emotions of its composer in the movie, a retired composer and conductor, reflecting on his life during his stay at an alpine resort. The story hangs on whether he will conduct his composition at a concert for the Queen of England. The movie reaches a climax with Cho's breathtaking performance.
In the movie, the Queen's emissary repeatedly mentions that the masterpiece will be performed by Sumi. This goes to show that Cho is acknowledged as a talented soprano, even in the UK.
With Cho's powerful delivery, the song has been nominated for Best Original Song at this year's Academy Awards. The winning song will be announced on February 28th. Oh Soo-young, Arirang News.
Now, before we go, we'll leave you with a brief overview of the weather here in Korea. And most of the country is under partly cloudy skies this evening. There might be on and off light slow tonight for the central region. It's not going to feel that cold, though, on Sunday. The high in Seoul reaching a relatively mild 4 degrees Celsius. With that, let's take a look at the weather around the world. Well, that's all we have for now. Do enjoy the rest of your Saturday, wherever you're watching us, and stay tuned to Arirang TV. We'll be back with our next newscast at 10 p.m. Korea time. Until then, goodbye.